All right, we're back. I am Geoff Harbaugh. This is the Real Reason Podcast. Today in the show, in about 25 minutes, we're going to speak with YouTuber, the host of the Mr. Reagan channel, Chris Coles. Him and I were talking about the fake Iran war kind of meltdown from the right. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, he's got a new cartoon out. It's called MAGA-Man. So we'll talk about that. We'll play some clips from it. And if you missed last week's show, go back, like it, share it, take a listen. But we had Jim Hansen on. You've seen him a lot on Fox News since the war in Iran started off. He talked about the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and just basically seizing all the Iranian oil. He's been calling for this. I think it's since the Iran war started. But if you want to go back and take a listen, he kind of explains it a little bit more in detail. So we're going to discuss some of that. I'm going to get into another one of the MAGA podcasters. But first off, we'll talk a little bit about Eric Swalwell. See, this is why I love Democrat primaries. And let me tell you the real reason that they had to take out Swalwell right now. Every now and then, when you get a contested Democrat election in the primary, that's where you get the real juice kind of comes out in all these guys and who they are. Because if you think back to, see, this is how I knew the Hunter Biden laptop was real right off the bat. Because people forget, if you're paying attention, in 2016, when he was kind of threatening and hinting that he might be running for president and the Democrats didn't want him to, that's when the Biden family corruption started coming out. That's when originally it came out that Hunter was getting the $1 million a year to work for Burisma in Ukraine, an oil and gas company that he knew nothing about. That's when a lot of the ties with Joe Biden's brother, and he's a guy that's not talked about a lot with this, his brother was just as bad as Hunter. Some of the contracts he got in this firm, this construction firm, another good thing too. No background whatsoever in construction, but they received a lot of the rebuilding contracts with Iraq. A lot of the Biden corruption, it had already come out in 2016, and it came out by the Democrats because they didn't want him to run. The same thing with Obama in 2008. Everybody wants to talk about Trump with the birth certificate and Obama being a Muslim, the pictures of him in that Muslim garb. That was all put out by the Hillary Clinton campaign. So that's when you get the good stuff. So what has happened here, and this is the real reason they took out Swalwell, is California, the governor's race, they have this thing, it's called a jungle primary. And what it is it's the top two people in the primary, the top two votes. They go on to the general election. And they do that in California because it's usually going to be two Democrats almost all the time. So really what that is, that way the party and the donors can completely control them. Because all you have to do is get them to the general election, and they will do whatever they want because they got to negotiate with Democrats. They will do whatever the party and the donor class wants to be able to get elected. So that's why you have these jungle primaries. But what happened this year is there's so many Democrats running, and you've got two Republicans running that are doing decent. If you look at the polls, together they're getting anywhere from 33 to 38% if you add up the two top Republicans. However, that was the top two. So you almost had a situation, and I didn't really talk about it before because I knew the Democrats, they would never allow this. But the way it was shaping up, you had a situation to where in November, the top two people on the ticket for the governor's race in California could have been Republicans. So there's no way that Democrats are going to allow this. So they had a lot of people there. They had to take somebody out. And the favorite now with Swalwell out is this guy, Tom Steyer. If you guys don't know who he is, he's a billionaire. He's a hedge fund guy, big into climate change, pushing climate change policies. His hedge fund invests heavily in these groups, but that's a different thing. So he's been flirting with running for governor before. He ran for president back in 2016. I think he spent like $250 million of his own money. It got him nowhere. Let me play it for you. This is Tom Steyer. This is what he was trying to do to get elected last time, but it looks like he's finally learned his lesson. That was him in South Carolina trying to get people out. That was his big push to voters. that it didn't pan out then. So now what he's doing, he's gotten smart. So he realized he went after Swalwell heavily. The other thing is Swalwell, before these videos came out, and I know Steyer was behind it because he's got a lot of money that will pay off these groups to do it, is he's been suing Swalwell because Swalwell doesn't even live in California. You talk to the residents, they said they haven't seen him in 9 years. The windows are always closed. The doors are always closed. Nobody goes in and out. He's not a resident. Tom Steyer's actually suing to get him off the ballot. It's not going to matter now because he's dropped out because the guy's not a resident. He's been going after him hard. So now that Swalwell's out, it's going to free up 13, 14, 15% for another Democrat. They're not done yet. I would guess Katie Porter is probably going to be next. She's the one that has the temper of someone on roid rage. Remember the video came out of her last year, and I can guarantee you there's lots of other ones where she's berating and screaming at her staffer for getting in her shot. And first of all, it's one of these hits that she's doing from home. She's in a kitchen. There's a bunch of dishes and stuff on the sink behind her, dirty dishes out there. She's worried about someone that walks into her shot, even though she didn't really walk into her shot. There's going to be some more videos of her. I'm guessing she's the next one that comes out. So it's going to be Tom Steyer now. He'll be the next governor for California. So shifting to is the podcasters this week, because I just want to mention this first before I get into Robert Barnes here, is have you noticed every one of the fake MAGA podcasters that is ripping Trump to shreds left and right? There's only one Republican that they like now. There's one guy. And remember what I just told you, kind of explained to you the Democrat tricks? This is not the reason that everybody's doing it. They're not all getting paid, although I believe some are. Some are doing it for attention. Some are doing it for clicks. And it's not the only reason, because it's probably going to get worse as far as the influence they have, at least temporarily. But what is going to come out from this is, I'll tell you right now, they all love Thomas Massie, the congressman from Kentucky. Every single one of them. They hate every Republican, every Democrat. They absolutely are in love with Thomas Massie. So what's going to happen is in 2028, Thomas Massie's going to run for president. He has no shot. That's what you're saying. So who cares? Here's what's going to happen. And the Democrats love this playbook. He's probably going to run in the Republican Party in the beginning. He won't get the nomination. Then he's going to probably, most likely, he'll run third party as a libertarian candidate, kind of as a spoiler candidate. He might do no labels, something like that. I can guarantee you this guy is running in 2028. And it's important because Democrats love this whole idea of a third party candidate to basically take votes away from Republicans. They do this all the time in important races. They've been doing it for decades. The biggest one that they did is in 1992. People don't remember this with Ross Perot. Bill Clinton. Oh, it was a landslide. That's what everybody says. He won the White House with 43% of the vote the first time. In other words, Kamala, that just got crushed, Kamala Harris had 5.5 points better she did than Bill Clinton in 1992 when he got elected. That's why they do this. All you need to do, if you pull off 3, 4, 5% of the electorate, that's a win for the Democrats. They always do this, even in primaries. They've been doing this now. They try to fund the political candidate, the guy that's on the run in the Republicans, the second one that doesn't have a chance of winning in the general election. They love these tricks. They know how to win elections. And I can guarantee you Thomas Massie's running in 2028 as a third party. And the guy is just, all he does is try to obstruct Trump. And I don't understand the appeal to them. I was listening yesterday to one of the podcasts because he's got a primary challenge, and it looks like it's going to be close. But the things that he's talking about, they make no sense. He spent the majority of his interview yesterday, and he started it out with real ID and how he doesn't have a real ID. Now, I understand the privacy concerns with real ID, but that right now, that's like number 1,500 on my list. And he's telling everybody why you should not get a real ID, and he hasn't done it because he doesn't want the government to know how many children he has or who he is. It makes zero sense. You're a congressman. You're on the payroll. Not only the fact that you pay taxes every year, so they're already going to know that. You're a member of Congress. They know who you are. You're on the payroll. They know every bit of information about you. And this is the kind of thing that he just pushes and hammers and hammers and hammers that nobody cares about. So that's Thomas Massie. I can guarantee you that he's running in 2028. So before we get to Chris Coles and what happened with the Iran war update, is I want to talk about this guy. And if you missed it last week with Jim Hansen, we spent a lot of time on Brandon Weichert. He's the fake national security expert that's been on Megyn Kelly. He's been on Tucker. He's on Bannon every day. I went through kind of his long list of failed predictions. I also showed some tweets that he deleted on January 6th when he called Trump Hitler. He also called for the execution of protesters. Yeah, and he's the real MAGA guy. And he came back, and he's ignoring me now. He won't come on and talk to me. And his big conversion, because all these guys, they've got these conversions of what happened. So he said it was COVID. He said Trump sold us out on COVID right when it happened, what forced him to move to Florida, and he had to just dump Trump because of that. But however, and this is when the communication stopped with Brandon, I showed him an article he wrote in March of 2020 where he actually was calling for Trump to step up the COVID policies more, where he actually argued that we needed the military to come in to enforce social distancing. So the guy that he had to abandon Trump because he sold us out over COVID, he was calling for the military to enforce social distancing. And I also found an interview, too, where he's like, I don't know what conservatives' problem was Fauci. I like Fauci. My wife works for Fauci. He's actually doing a great job. And multiple times, we can't open the country until we get a vaccine. So that's Brandon Weichert. That's his fake conversion. So last week, and this is what brought my attention to this, is the guy that made a lot of news last week was Robert Barnes on with Alex Jones. This got picked up everywhere. It was shared everywhere, where basically they've converted now. You got to bring in the 25th Amendment. He actually said, the guy's a lawyer, too. He's so stupid that he would say stuff like this. What did he say, that J.D. Vance has to kidnap him and make him believe that he's president, but J.D. Vance runs things? So that was the clip. And this guy, Robert Barnes, now, he's anti-Israel. He's anti-every single thing that Trump does. And what I'm going to prove to you today is Robert Barnes, you know, the guy that went viral last week with Alex Jones calling for the 25th Amendment, the guy's a complete liar. He makes things up all the time. I'm going to prove that to you. He doesn't believe what he's saying because he said the complete opposite before. And I have firsthand experience where I've seen this guy completely make things up that I can prove to you, and he does that all the time. And the other thing is this guy's conversion that he has, because all these guys, they have the conversion. You know, I was MAGA, I was Trump, I was this, but this happened. His conversion is made up, and I'm going to prove that to you, too. This is his breakdown of the Iran war.
And reining in Israel once and for all. If we did, the Mideast wars would end. Then we would actually get peace in the Middle East. Then we wouldn't be dragged back into these conflicts. Then we wouldn't have a ceaseless motivation for terrorism against Americans around the world. And that's get out of the Mideast, rein in Israel. Joe Kent is exactly right. There's a two-for strategy that could save American lives, preserve peace, and we can use this war as the excuse to do it.
All right, so that's Robert Barnes there. That's what he said this week now. So we got to rein in Israel, and they're the reason, he's claiming, that we have all this terrorism. It's all because of Israel. If it wasn't for Israel, if we weren't allies for them, that would never happen before. So here's Robert Barnes 4 years ago saying the complete opposite. This guy actually did a debate over Israel with Nick Fuentes, and he took Israel's side. I know he's going to say now that he converted. That's coming up too. His conversion's fake, and I can prove it. But here's Robert Barnes before. Remember what he just said. You know, Israel's the problem. That's the reason we have terrorism. Here's Robert Barnes 4 years ago.
And the oldest Arab trick, going back to General Khalid and the first rise of the Arab Caliphate, was to use the values of the opposing empire against them. through means and methods of deception. And so they have taken old Nazi anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and other anti-Jewish conspiracy theories and anti-Israeli conspiracy theories to convince people that Israel is behind everything from the Black Plague to World War I, from every war that's waged in the Middle East is really Israelis doing. And it's only because of the Palestinians' poor abuse that we have any conflict in the Middle East and that Islamofascism exists. That is a lie and a deception and a dangerous one.
So there he is. Not only is he basically said the complete opposite there, he calls it out for what it is. He explains to you, this is the oldest trick in the book. This is the conspiracy theory that's been going around basically since the beginning of time. He tells you who starts it, and now he has actually adopted his own conspiracy theory. So let me go here. He goes on a little bit more, too. Remember, it's Israel is the reason that we get into all these wars.
That engaging Israel, using Israel as an essential ally, defending Israel in the court of public opinion, defending Israel in the courts of Congress, defending Israel in the courts of the United Nations, and providing military aid would best enable the U.S. struggle against Islamofascism rise throughout the Middle East and the world. He understood that Israel is not the driving policy or reasons for Islamofascism in Pakistan and Afghanistan from the Asian subcontinent to Africa. Indeed, that's the Islamofascist myth and deception that they have pushed for a while.
All right, so there it is again. It's a myth and it's a deception. And how about he really used to like the word Islamist fascism, which is a word, I don't know if he invented it. I guarantee you, I've heard Mark Levin say it at least 1,000 times. He's probably said it 10,000 times. And the funny thing is, Robert Barnes now, the person that he rips the most is Mark Levin. He hates Mark Levin. Trashes him all the time. And here he is there. He's using his word. I guarantee you Mark Levin said that word on air more than any other word that he said in the history. Let me play you this, too. This is one of his another things that he's going on now. And this is all that he tweets about, too, is the Israeli lobby, because that's what got us into the Iran war. Let's play Barnes right here.
The reign in Israel once and for all, discipline the Israel lobby, take them out of the halls of power in Washington, D.C., and restore a focus on the domestic American
Israel
agenda.
needs a straitjacket on it. It's
absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
So that's this thing that he's been saying now this week, is it's the Israeli lobby. That's a problem. They're controlling our foreign policy. Here's Robert Barnes just about 4 years ago.
I think the myth that Israel is secretly running U.S. foreign policy is just the idea that the U.S. deep state is really being run by Israel when they give 5 times more money to Israel's enemies than Israel probably should be a bit of a clue.
So there he is now. Complete opposite. Now it's the Israeli foreign lobby. They're playing the strings. They're getting into this thing. And back before it was a myth. So let me bring you up a couple tweets, too. This is what Barnes has been on a crusade about, too. On top of the fact that it's the Israeli lobby that tricked Trump, got him into this war, he's also going on now is Israel is the whole reason that we got into Iraq. Here he is, as I told you, he hates Mark Levin. Here he is tweeting at him, and just go to his Twitter feed. There's hundreds of tweets like this. Like you, Netanyahu lied to us to get into Iraq. He deserves no trust on wars over weapons of mass construction claims. So remember, Barnes now is pushing that the reason that we even got into Iraq in the first place because of Bibi, it was because of the Jews. Here is Robert Barnes 4 years ago.
But they were not for the war in Iraq. Indeed, they made that clear. That came out through a wide range of Western press. And it was an Al Jazeera in part supported, which is, again, Qatar Muslim Brotherhood back channel that pushed this conspiracy theory that really it was all Israel wanting a regime change in Iraq. Indeed, they repeatedly said, don't go to war in Iraq. They think Iran was the real enemy.
All right, so there's Barnes now double talking again because it's now the cool thing to go after Israel. Have you noticed that? This guy makes things up so much all the time. Every single interview he does, he comes up with something that is a complete lie, just things that he makes up that he thinks sounds good. But what I really want to kind of hone in on here is I could go on. I watched this debate. I could get you 75 clips of him saying the exact opposite of the things that he's saying every day on Twitter. Every single day in every interview. But I think that's enough to kind of prove the point here. But the big thing is now is his conversion that he brings this up is it's the genocide that was going on in Gaza. It's ethnic cleansing. That's what he's saying. I was duped. Israel's committing ethnic cleansing. Now, this is how you know it's a show and you know the guy is making things up. I could maybe believe that. I really don't believe, though, that somebody that's in their 50s on a topic like this, I understand some people change opinions. I don't know how you completely change like this when you're in your 50s. Even though the guy looks like he's 75, I think he's like 52 or 53 years old. But this is how you know it's a lie, because he's saying that the problem was it was ethnic cleansing, they're committing a genocide. Now, I would believe that was kind of the reason you flipped. But what if when you were pro-Israel, what if the problem that you thought for Israel is that they didn't go far enough and they weren't committing ethnic cleansing? What if that was your take then? Then I got to think you're making up this whole conversion.
Israel's not an expansionist agenda. If anything, they've probably been not expansionistic enough. If they did what the Jordanians did when they took over Jerusalem, or what Egypt did when they took over, and what Egypt did when they took over the Gaza, what did they do? Well, Jordan came into historic Jerusalem, wiped out the Christians, kicked out all Jewish people, burned down the churches, burned down the synagogue. They did real ethnic cleansing like they did throughout their entire Arab populations, where they kicked out 800,000 Jews. They didn't kick anybody out. They even recognized Jordanian title, which was illicit for the people in East Jerusalem. And so because they didn't, they have a hostile population trying to wage war on them on a daily basis since 1988.
All right, so this is incredible. This is him 4 years ago. The problem is that they're not going far enough. They're not expansionist enough. You know, if they would actually commit ethnic cleansing, I think that's what he's arguing for there. But I think he's actually saying that that's the reason that they have so many problems that they are. So I've never heard anyone speak like that. That proves to you this guy is a complete fraud. He's a complete liar. And I want to play this. I just went to a random clip because give me any interview. I dare you to this. If you're a Robert Barnes supporter, send me any interview he's done in the last 6 months that's at least 10 minutes long. I will find you one of these things that he just throws out, pretends it's fact because he thinks nobody will check it out, and it's a made-up lie because it makes his story sound good. Send me any interview. I can guarantee you I will find it. The guy does this all the time. He's an Alex Jones wannabe. So here's the clip, too, that I want to play you. It sounds like nothing, but this is his old style.
The MAGA's going nowhere. America First is going nowhere. Trump likes to pretend he invented it. It was actually a New York Times smear. The New York Times in 2016 said, oh, my goodness, this is like, the 1940s, World War II, anti-war, America First movement. And Trump looked like, America First. Oh, that's great. I'm going to use that. And that's where he got the idea. He just stole it from the New York Times as an insult. But he didn't create it or invent it or originate it.
All right, so Donald Trump, he didn't even start America First. It was a smear from the New York Times that he thinks sounds good. So I know this clip doesn't sound a lot, but this illustrates just exactly what this guy does. And I told you, if you're a Barnes supporter, send me any interview. I will find you a lie in there, and I will prove it. Because this is what this guy does. He picks anything that makes himself sound good. So he wants to say that America First started because the New York Times ran that headline about Trump, and then Trump thought it sounded good. All right, that's partly true. If you actually read the article, because I went and found it. Do you don't know where America First comes from, moron? It comes from Donald Trump telling the New York Times, look, I'm not an isolationist. My foreign policy, it's America First. Obviously, since he gave him the quote, you idiot, he's the one that created it, not the New York Times. The New York Times, they put Donald Trump's quote in the headline, and then Robert Barnes, with what he does, he lies all the time. He twists everything that he can to go into his favor. And the other thing, too, is now that I've proven that the guy lies in every single interview with things that he made up, now that I've proven that his conversion is fake because he thought the problem with Israel's before is that they didn't do ethnic cleansing. They didn't go far enough. So the conversion's fake. His information is fake. And this is the other thing why I know the guy's a liar. And this is why I despise this guy, is he did the same thing that I'm talking about, just making things up because they sound good, a couple of years ago. As you guys all know, I was the executive producer on Sebastian Gorka's radio show and his Newsmax TV show. About, I guess it was 3-4 years ago, I don't know what it was. Robert Barnes was on one of these podcasts, and he just throws it out. The problem with Sebastian Gorka, and the only reason that he's, supports Ukraine is because him and his wife, they're lobbyists, and they're running around D.C. sucking up to the establishment, and they're making a bunch of money off of war contracts. That's what he just throws out there. Just something like that. Now, not only was it false, not only is it not true, Number 3, if you actually wanted to go look it up, you would see if him or his wife actually made any money because it'd be public record off of the Ukraine war. That's a lie. And then what did Barnes do after that? We repeatedly called him. We repeatedly texted him. He would not respond. I think one of the times he actually picked up when I called from a different number, hung his phone up. I called his office the entire week. I said, hey, since you want to do that, all I want to do is, hey, come on, why don't you talk to Sebastian? Why, if you got any proof that he's basically getting these kickbacks off of the Ukraine war, why don't you come on and talk about it? Because you notice he hasn't found an internet conspiracy show that he won't go on. But he wouldn't come on his radio show. He wouldn't come on Newsmax. He dodged us for a week. I forget what he told the secretary. It's something to do with her phone calls. But he's a liar. That's what this guy does. He makes things up. So it's important. I wanted to go through that you listen to this guy now. Why don't you take a look at the people that you're listening to that are forming these opinions? Because they have zero credibility. He's a fat, slob, lying attention whore. That's all Robert Barnes is. So now that we've taken care of that, let's have a little bit of fun. All right, so Donald Trump in 2024, he won all 7 swing states. And you'll understand where I'm going with this in a minute. I think if the Trump campaign would have put some money behind this ad, he might have won a couple of the other swing states that weren't. I'm going to play this ad, then I'm going to come back. I'm going to introduce you to our next guest.
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed the senility of the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant. And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean Joe Biden. Do you think the country went to over the past 4 years? You ain't seen nothing yet.
I love the laugh at the end. And the guy that made that is our next guest. That is Chris Coles. He's got the YouTube channel, Mr. Reagan. How are you, Chris?
I am doing fantastic, Geoff. And let me introduce you guys to Geoff Harborough. Like, I don't think anybody really knows who you are, actually. They might see this.
No, nobody knows who I am.
But I'm going to tell them. So there was a little show that went on for several years between the first Trump administration and the second Trump administration. And it was called America First with Sebastian Gorka. And this show was one of the great producers, the great magic makers behind the scenes of this show was this man, Geoff, right here. And that's how we know each other. We know each other for a long time. And he's very good at what he does. And he knows a lot of important people, and he knows a lot of important stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So he's the perfect person to start this kind of a podcast.
Yeah, so that ad, that's the one that you came up with. And that was kind of when AI, people think back, that was a year and a half ago. AI wasn't really there yet. And the voice there, you got the voice down pretty good for that. But that clip, that went everywhere. I remember Elon Musk share it. I can remember actually texting you. I was getting upset because it was so good and so many people ripped it. I'm like, why didn't you watermark it? You're like, I don't care. I just want to get it out there. I said, there's so many people that have seen this and they have no idea who created it. And the other thing that you're bringing up, too, about kind of how we know each other is the other thing where I started to find out who you were was the AOC cattle call video that you did. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, the brains behind AOC. That's the one that made me famous, actually.
That's kind of how we met each other. When that first came out, we were getting texts about it on the show. People were calling up, you should have this guy on. And I remember at the time thinking, I said 9 times out of 10 something like this happens. Actually, it's probably more like 99 times out of 100. It's either wrong or the guy's a lunatic that is behind it that actually made the video.
It's true.
So I remember I checked you out. And I remember going into Gorka the next day. I said, he's actually kind of normal. And I said, I think it's real. And I think I DM'd you on Twitter or something, or I messaged you through YouTube. And since then, I bet you were probably the guest with the most amount of appearances on his show, I think.
Oh, yeah.
We'd have you on almost once a week. You'd had hundreds of times. So that's kind of how we know each other and everything. And you've got a new cartoon out. It's MAGA-Man. I'm going to play a clip for you. I was telling you kind of before the show. The nicknames that you have for the Democrats in it is fantastic. So I'm going to play that part for you. But first, what I kind of want to talk about is I saw the other night on Twitter, you kind of went on a little bit of a rampage, calling out some of the people that have just been doom and gloom about this, that, first of all, Trump's taco, he's chickening out, but 12 hours before, they were saying that it's going to be World War III if he does anything. So what has kind of your reaction been to this, the fake MAGA podcasters, as I'm calling it, kind of during the Iran war? And I think this has been going on for about 6 months.
Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? There is this, I think what it stems from at its core. A lot of people are like, oh, they're being paid by, this or that or whatever. I don't know. Here's my, and Geoff, you will know this, I would say probably as well as anyone. In our circles, within our group of people, there are several kinds of successful people, right? Some of them are incredibly knowledgeable, like Sebastian Gorka. Sebastian Gorka is one of the most knowledgeable friggin' guys out there. And he was just born with one of the greatest voices that God has ever blessed humanity with. So he was basically one of the perfect people. And you actually got a great voice too, Geoff. I didn't really think about it until you did the show. And I'm like, he's got a good voice. But Gorka has this perfect blend of great knowledge, great charisma, and a great voice. So he was like perfect kind of candidate to do a radio show like that. But a lot of guys, the reason they're successful, and I know some of these guys personally, and I'm sure you've met a bunch of them too, they're attention seekers. They're the kind of people who desperately want to be famous. They desperately want to be loved. They desperately want to have like a following. They would need attention, right? And, let me tell you something. This is kind of a crazy thing. I don't like to admit this. I've said this a couple of times publicly, but it's not something I like to talk about. When Trump won, it was actually kind of bittersweet in 2024 for me. And the reason it was bittersweet, I know it's weird, right? Yeah. The reason it was bittersweet was because even though obviously we've been working for this forever and we all kind of got it. And we were all like, and I felt like I had contributed. A lot of us, I think, felt like we contributed a little bit here or there. And that video that you played, the Kamala Harris campaign ad parody, that I asked Grok once how many impressions that got on X, and he said conservatively 900 million, probably more like 1 billion impressions.
Because so that thing was everywhere. Yeah,
that completely saturated like X and like all social media, and that was at the peak of Kamala Harris's the enthusiasm for her, right? Remember when she was all like, joy, we're going to bring joy back to the White House. Yeah. Like that was her whole campaign. And so that kind of killed the momentum. So I felt like that video, with the help of obviously being retweeted by Elon Musk, which obviously gave it like rocket fuel, helped to absolutely deflate Kamala's campaign. So I felt like I had contributed a little bit, Would Trump have won without the video? Yeah, of course he would have won. But I did feel a little bit like I had helped. So that all felt really, really good. But you do feel a little bit like you're a soldier with a sniper rifle and you've been hunting the bad guys for 6 years, 8 years or whatever. And suddenly somebody goes, war's over. We won. Go home. They take your guns. You go home and you're looking around like, well, who do I shoot now? Like my job is over. Right.
It's so funny it was a little, you kind of bring that part up because one of the things that some of these people is they don't know how to do a podcast without complaining about everything and not everything kind of being a conspiracy theory and everything kind of the system's against you. Some of these people don't know how to do a show when their person is in power. I think that's some of it too. It's not all money.
100%. 100%.
Yes.
But you got to understand, like a conspiracy theory or raging against the machine or, being the contrarian, being the person who has the secret knowledge about this or that gets a lot of clicks, man. And these people they get addicted to clicks. And you think that they're truth seekers, but the reason you think they're truth seekers is because at the time Trump's out of office or in his first term when everybody was against him, there was a lot of secret knowledge to be uncovered. But now that he's in office, how do you be the contrarian? How do you be the guy that, like, you know, peeks under the curtain if Trump is as transparent as he is? It's very hard. So you got to make shit up. I'm sorry for the language.
No, you're fine. No, exactly. And that's the thing, too, as far as the secret knowledge goes. This is what I can't understand the people that are listening to him. Every single one of these guys, and this has been going on, I would say, since about last summer. So it's almost a year now, these people that I'm talking about. They've been trashing Trump every day, saying that he's selling out, he's a disaster, he's been bought off by Israel, whatever one it is. Every single day.
The Israel thing is the biggest one.
Yes. But they will also, with that, they will mention 2 to 3 things a day of secret knowledge that they've gotten from inside of the White House. So ask me, why would the White House decide, you know what, let's get the guy that's been ripping us for the last 6 months, day in and day out, let's leak through him. These guys have no sources, no contacts in the White House. And some of these people, too, I know this week it went kind of viral. I wish that some of these people would just kind of look at who these people are and look into their background, the people that you're listening to. It was Robert Barnes. He had that clip. I don't know if you saw that with Alex Jones.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
He's basically calling for the 25th Amendment and all this type of stuff. He does that show, too, with Viva La Fry? Who is that?
Yeah, Viva Frey, yeah.
Yes. He does that show a lot. He actually, you retweeted me, and he didn't really take a liking to what I did.
He didn't like that so much. He didn't like that so much.
Yeah, he didn't like that show at all. It's a very, it's an interesting show. Have you ever watched their show at all? The Barnes and Fry show?
I don't really watch their show. I know Viva Frey because just from Twitter, like interacting a little bit. And he's always seemed all right to me. I asked him if he wanted to do if you want a cameo in the cartoon. He said sure. So he might be in the episode 2. We'll see. But I don't know.
The show's kind of, it's terrible. It kind of reminds me of, if you take a look at the two of them, it's kind of reminds me of that 90s sitcom, Jake and the Fat Man. It's a little bit like that. It's kind of like a bad version of that. But what I want to bring up and I'm going to get your cartoon, but just this Robert Barnes, because he's going this week, this is what these guys are. They're bomb throwers. They make things up. The guy is a complete liar. And when I don't like him, this was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And this is why I know that these guys make things up. He went on a podcast and he started talking about Sebastian Gorka. And if you want to have a different opinion from him, that's fine. But here's what he said. He said that the reason that Gorka is behind the Ukraine war, he says because him and his wife are lobbyists. And they're running around D.C. soaking up to the D.C. establishment to be able to get war contracts. Now, whatever you want. Number one, the establishment hates Gorka, which is a good thing. The second part, to say that him and his wife are getting money off of war contracts in Ukraine. You would know that, number one. That would be public knowledge. So this is how I know. This is the stuff that he do, and he kind of makes up lies. And
oh, my God. And okay, hold on real quick on that. You know Sebastian Gorka as well as anybody. I mean, you worked with him for years, very close.
Yeah, 6 years.
He's one of my best friends in the world, I'll be honest. I love that man to death.
He's very
we don't talk as
loyal.
much as we used to.
Notice that?
Oh, he's one of the most loyal human beings on the planet.
He's the most loyal people you ever meet, yeah.
And this guy tells me stuff that, you just don't, most people you just don't talk about with other people unless it's like somebody you're very close to. So I know a lot about Sebastian Gorka, and that whole concept to me is like disgusting. Like, this guy is one of the most patriotic. I mean, he's a British immigrant. Of course, he grew up in England, but he loves this country. He loves Trump. I mean, he genuinely loves Trump like a brother. I mean, Trump will talk to Sebastian Gorka like you would talk to one of your best friends. Like, that's how Trump talks to him, right? So he knows Trump very, very well. He took a massive pay cut, of course, to go work at the White House again. Like, he's one of the few people in government that legitimately sacrifices his wealth, sacrifices, his reputation, whatever it might be, to go try to do amazing things for this country and for the world, because he actually cares. He's a devoutly religious Christian man, and he actually cares about the world and cares about improving things. So don't go around saying crap about him.
Yeah.
Right? He's the worst person to say stuff about.
Yeah, that's one of the rare people that he's going in there not for the next job, because that's what people do
Exactly.
that, because it's going to set them up with some type of lobbying job or something out of that. But so the other thing about Barnes is he's a liar. He's a complete liar, as I says. He make things up, and he's a lawyer. He has this law firm, and I'm just trying. I don't understand why people are listening to him. We know that he's a liar, and on top of that, this guy is the biggest.
I think bald
douchebag
people
on earth.
command respect. Like people, if they're
Yes,
kind of
yes.
bald, people are like,
Well-
oh, they're smart and wise.
This, to me, he's got 2 videos on his website about his law firm. Now, if you were looking for a law firm, have you ever thought to yourself, what's the strategy behind the law firm? You may want that. Now, I'm going to play you this clip here. Have you ever said to yourself, I need a law firm that adopts the strategy of the 15th century Swiss mercenaries?
What?
That's what Barnes' whole law firm is about. Let me play you this clip for you. Let me
Okay,
see
all
if
right.
you would hire this lawyer.
The Barnes Law model is unique relatively in the industry because the goal is to model it after the Swiss mercenary model of the 1200s, 1300s, 1400s. And the Swiss mercenaries, or the Swiss Guard, they now still protect the Vatican, they lived up in the Swiss mountains, but they would be retained by different of the princes that they were fighting with each other to come down and wage war. And they were the most successful warriors and on behalf of anybody for 700 years. And the utility of the Swiss mercenary model was they had no special allegiance or alliance with any particular side, so they could be objective, they could have a certain clarity, and would understand that their sole and whole goal was to be a good warrior for those who retain them. And the goal with our law firm was to be able to mimic that model and to be able to repeat that. And the way we do that is our whole team is a unified team on individual cases, but they live all across the country in different places, come together for a trial. We design our system so we use online-based document storage, so that we're very elastic, we're
Online
very flexible.
documents, nobody
We
has
can
that.
build a little mini trial house within 24 hours, and we can have all of the tools that we need for being able to perform in the trial. And the other advantage of the Swiss mercenary model is we're not locally rooted in such a way that we're corrupted.
You know what? He looks like a well-groomed scrotum in a turtleneck.
That's what I
Did you notice
said.
that? Like an
Yes.
old man's well-groomed scrotum in a turtleneck. He's trying to
Or
do
a
some kind of like
stagehand.
Steve Jobs thing. Yeah, he looks like like a
and I
middle-aged
just-
gay stagehand.
And that's the video that he decided to put on his website. Is that not the dumbest thing you have ever heard in your life?
Oh, but
I'm
you
gonna
gotta
start a
love that
law firm.
copyright-free music.
Oh yeah, yeah, you love that in the background. So I mean, that to me is Robert Barnes. The guy's a complete joke and a complete clown. And
You know, I think
last
the
thing
word is
that-
tool. He's
Yes.
like, that's the perfect description. He's a tool.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes, exactly. And a liar. That's the other thing too. And he has no
Yeah,
inside
clearly.
information. So
He
just
has
kind of
no
the last
inside
thing before we get to your cartoon with Iran, I saw that you were tweeting about it. Is
Well, real
these
quick about the inside
nonstop-
information. Sorry to interrupt, but
No, go
You-
ahead. I like
you
people
can-
to interrupt. Go ahead.
you know people. I know that you know people in the White. I mean, we both know Sebastian Gorka, but we both also have other contacts in Congress, in the White House. We know people in
Many.
D.C. Like we go around. So we actually do have access to inside information. Okay, like stuff that the public doesn't necessarily hear all the time. And I can tell you, like a lot of the stuff that I hear that people are like, oh, guess what about this scandal or this rumor or that person? Most of it's pretty boring. And the
Yes,
stuff that's
it
a little
is.
bit scandalous, or whatever, we're not going to repeat that stuff because
Exactly.
we don't want to compromise the people that trust us. So anybody that's going to tell me something that I think they don't want me to put on the show or something like that, I would never put that on the show. So if, you got like a Candace Owens or something and they're going, all right, you're not going to believe what my contact told me. That just
And you
doesn't
got to build
happen.
it up
You
for
just
15 minutes too. You got to build
you
it up.
build it up for 50
15
minutes
or
and then you
20
get this
minutes.
bombshell information, whatever, that's like this secret information. Guess what? She's making this stuff up or somebody's making it up and feeding it to her. But the stuff that these people are getting is just trash. It's just invented garbage. It's like the Christopher Steele dossier. It's just nonsense.
It actually is. That's actually a good comparison
Yeah.
of what Candace Owens is basically the Steele dossier. That's what basically her show is, this whole Erica Kirk thing. All right, so Chris, you started this show, MAGA-Man. Should I play the clip first, or do you want to talk about it a little bit? How do you want to do it?
Oh, play the clip. We got to play that clip. Let's have a look at this.
Gavin Newsom is the slickster. Adam Schiff is the shape-shifting, shifty Schiff, a man who can take on any form. Hillary Clinton is the Green Witch. Elizabeth Warren is Pocahontas. Greta Grunberg is the Gremlin. Nancy Pelosi is the Red Witch. Ilhan Omar is the Somali Pirate. Zoran Mamdani is Kami Mamdani. Eric Swalwell is Fume. Kamala Harris is the Black Witch. And Michelle Obama is Big Mike.
You can't see some of the captions, too, that they have there if you're just listening. I love under Big Mike, you have it's Barack Obama's personal bodyguard. But you've got 2 or 3 lines on there that are really funny, too. I love the names that you came up with, the Democrats. Some of them were easy. Some of them you kind of came up. Eric Swalwell as Fume. That's a great callback. Why don't you explain to people why Eric Swalwell is Fume?
Well, years ago, he did an interview that kind of went viral on X. I might have been Twitter at the time. It's so old. But he was doing some kind of an interview like this. I think it was maybe on Fox or something. And he just as somebody's asking a kind of a long-winded question, he just kind of goes, and there was like this rumor, and nobody really knows if it was true for sure, but a lot of people believe it.
If you max up the face with the noise, it seems like it happened.
It looked like there was a little bit of a gaseous release going on in that moment, and he just, as people started calling him Eric Fartwell and things like this, that became like a kind of a thing. And I always remembered that, and I always thought it was kind of funny. So as I was coming up with these ideas, what's their superpower? I thought, oh, wouldn't it be funny if he could like create any gas known to man? And it just happened to work really, really well for this first story, which is a parody of the movie Goldfinger.
Actually, I'm sure you've seen this cartoon too. It reminds me of Archer a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of people say that.
Now, do you like that or no? That's kind of one of those, wasn't really going for that, or what is
No,
that?
I wasn't going for it, but, I liked Archer. I love that show. Actually, I didn't know what that show was until I was living in L.A., and this is when I was a little bit younger and better looking. And there was a small circle of people in L.A. that used to call me Archer. They used to call, because I used to kind of look like Archer. They used to think I looked like Archer.
Now, did you dress like that now in regular day life then? Did you wear the suit like Archer all the time or no? Because you actually do now.
No, that's just...
You're in the suit. You're in the Archer costume.
Yeah. And for some reason, I always just turn to people and go, phrasing. No, I just kind of dressed normally. I think I dressed in like a white collar shirt with my sleeves rolled up. That kind of was like my signature look for a long time. Yeah, I don't know if I particularly look like Archer, but just enough where people called me that for some reason. So of course I had to start watching the show, and I've always loved that show. It's a great show, but the illustrative style of the animation is actually based on Johnny Quest.
Okay, now I noticed in there some of the names are different, like that clip we just played. It's not Greta Thunberg, it's Greta. I noticed now
Greta
of these
Grunberg.
Names. Yeah, you've changed a little bit. I think I know, but what's the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, I don't even call Elon Musk. I have a character called Zelon Zusk, who is in no way...
That was the one that surprised me, yeah.
...related to Elon Musk. Well, I felt like, look, if you're in government, I have every legal right to lampoon you, to put you in this parody, to create a sort of caricature of your... of who you are. So all the actual politicians and everything, they're just in it. Trump's just in it. Barack Obama's just in it, whatever. But when it comes to private citizens, like Elon Musk is not in the government. Greta Thunberg isn't in the government. I'm creating fictional characters to just create that slight separation so that there's no real confusion. They are actually fictional characters. Are they based on real life people? I don't know. Yeah, but so in episode 2, I will be putting episode 2. I'm going to put it out, a little bit of a teaser out there for everybody. It's going to be based on Ocean's 11. So there's going to be a heist element. We're not stealing money, though. We're going to have to steal the YouTube blacklist of political YouTubers that are currently shadow banned. So we figure out a way to reverse the shadow bans, but we need the list of names of, they got like this physical list in the fictional world of my story.
Well, in the real world, we know who is on that list. One of them is Sebastian Gorka is on that list.
No, he's on the list of like literally banned. He was banned from YouTube. But I was, I think I'm shadow banned. I think a lot of people are shadow banned. And so in episode 2, Trump says, we gotta figure out how to stop these social media companies from, shadow banning all these conservatives on YouTube. And Zelon Zusk pipes up and he says, well, I have an algorithm that could reverse the shadow bans. He goes, okay, do that. And he's like, but we need the blacklist with all the special codes, the secret codes from. So I set this up where we need to get this physical list of YouTubers. And so we arrive at, I shouldn't give everything away, but essentially it's not going to be the normal team. It's going to be a team of well-known YouTubers that you and I both know, who are going to break in. And I've been emailing some people. I've got some replies back from a couple of people. Dinesh D'Souza has agreed to do it. Viva Frey has accepted it. My friend Sydney Watson's going to be in it. So I've got different people who have agreed to do it. Other people may not, but I think for episode 2, I'm just going to use everybody's name. With satire, you can kind of get away with this, but I'm not going to go overboard. I'm not going to be like defamatory or anything like that. We're just going to have a little bit of fun with it. It's all over the top, silly stuff anyway. So anyway, we're going to break in, get the blacklist.
Are these YouTubers forced by Israel to do this, to go get the list, or are they just kind of working on their own? Because that's kind of what the woke right would say right now. I like this idea because you're kind of getting issues in there. Like, it's a comedy cartoon, but you're getting issues in there that nobody's really talking about anymore that's still going on. There's definitely, they've gotten away with, hey, we're not going to demonetize you, we're not going to ban you, but they're shadow banning the hell out of you, which is almost just as bad because that's completely going on.
There's a couple of things that people are a little bit disappointed with Donald Trump about. I mean, there's several things, but I will say the 2 things that have bothered me the most, and I think one of the things that bothers everybody the most is like, no heads have rolled yet, right? We don't have any Democrats that we believe have actually committed crimes. Even like the ones that went after Donald Trump, and spied on the campaign, right? All that stuff has kind of been ignored a little bit. I know he finally got rid of Pam Bondi, but we need to see some heads roll, right? People want to see heads roll for the Epstein file. People want to see heads roll for a lot of corrupt stuff that we think that went on during Trump's first term and especially during Biden's term, and even all the way back to Obama's, presidency. We really believe that there's a lot of corruption going on, and I think Trump believes it too. So it's really frustrating to see, like, really not a lot of headway on that particular front. And another thing that there was a promise made when he was running, that he was going to ensure that the social media companies were not allowed to shadow ban conservatives. He made a whole speech about this. I made a video about it. I was like, almost got emotional over it because I'm like, you need to do this, man. And it just hasn't happened. And I feel like it needs to happen before the midterms, or else we're going to again be at this disadvantage with social media, especially YouTube, where we just can't get the messages out that we need to get out. So it's a really critically important thing to me. I really hope the administration gets to it. They're a little busy right now. I understand it, but it is a thing that I think needs a bit of attention. Yeah.
And I'll take it one step further with YouTube. Not only is stuff like, I think you're definitely getting shadow banned, and there's some others, the things that are having to be promoted. Candace Owens, there's no way she gets that amount of views on YouTube if they're not promoting that show. Yeah, I mean, she is saying, and they actually have a policy that they ban conspiracy theories. Every episode she does is a conspiracy theory.
Isn't that funny?
Is just promoted everywhere. But that thing that you're hitting on with the social media companies, I don't know how. You've got to prove it somehow. You might need the whistleblowers in there or something, but it's still going on. That's something that I think if and I agree, it seems like the Trump administration isn't doing anything about it. If something happened in the news or if it became relevant again, Trump would act on it. I think that's
I don't think it's a Trump problem. I think it's it's just not a priority right now. And it just, I think that it's something Trump wants to see happen, but like, yeah, exactly. If it's not something people even remember as a problem, so it needs to be something that gets into the news again somehow. Maybe my episode.
And the
will
other
do
thing
it. We'll find out.
Yeah, and the other thing that you brought up as far as the heads rolling, I agree with that. It's not just that I'm not like the left. I don't want to just see these people in jail. To be honest with you, I don't really. My life's not going to be any better if James Comey goes to jail tomorrow. But however, where I will take that is if some of the people that went after Trump, if you don't have at least a couple of people that go to jail for a serious amount of time, it's going to keep happening. You need something like that to happen.
Well, that's exactly the logic behind it. You're right. I mean, it's not a vindictive thing. I don't care if any of these people go to prison. It's about deterrence. You cannot have a consequence-free, corrupt federal government.
But and you know what? I think a lot of it didn't happen. I don't know, but to me, I don't. And I actually said this. This was actually before the administration even started. I don't think a lot of these people you can get convicted. Because your libs that are
problem.
so hardcore, all you need is 1 out of 12. Even if you want to go to red, Oklahoma,
what you're talking about is
Texas.
Jurisdiction. Yeah, but
Yes.
primarily jurisdiction is the problem. Yeah.
Yes, and all you got to do is get kind of 1 out of 12. So kind of the last thing before we get you out of here, I thank you for coming on in a Friday night where you are. It's Friday morning for me. So I appreciate you coming on.
Well, I did go out before I came here. It was a disaster, but I went out.
See, that's good. It was a disaster. That way, you're able to make the interview. You didn't worry about coming home for that.
That's true. That's true.
So the last thing. So episode 2. When is it out? And are you going to do it in parts? Or are you going to put the whole episode out at this time?
No, we're going to put it in parts. So there's a couple of reasons why it's been delayed. The primary reason is because I've been wanting to sort of like touch base with some of the people that I want to be in it, and there's so many people that I want to be in it, like big names. That getting a hold of people is sometimes difficult. I mean, even probably you guys have trouble with that. Actually, you could probably help me with that. So I should I should be talking to you.
You're trying for.
Yeah. But I'm trying to touch base with some people. Having trouble getting, like I think it took Dinesh D'Souza 2 weeks to respond to me. But I haven't heard back from some people, and even like people have their phone numbers. I'm like texting them. I'm not getting a response. I'm like, am I blocked? What's happening? I feel like. I feel like the nerdy kid in school who can't get attention, but yeah. So I've been trying to get permissions.
If a different number, that's what I would always do when I was producing, because they pick
you
up,
genius.
and then you kind of or use a spoof to a 202 area code, so they get DC and they think it's somebody important. People that work in our world, maybe it's the White House. They'll pick up every time.
I know. Maybe it's the White House. Well, so the big one that I would love to do is Joe Rogan. I'd love to have him on the team. Breaking into YouTube headquarters, trying to steal the blacklist. And I think it's the kind of thing he would love. If he took 2 seconds to like watch a clip of this cartoon and then saw like the character I wanted to create for him, I think he'd be like, yeah, put me in it. That's cool. But it's just tough to get a hold of these people and get somebody to show them the thing and be like, hey, look at this. So if I can't get a hold of Joe Rogan, I'm just going to call him Bro Jogan, and I'm going to put him in anyway.
There you go. Didn't you do that with the after the election when there was a lot of discussion if the election was stolen? Didn't you start a different channel and kind of do a different name?
No, I did the same channel. So what? Yeah, well, I did. You're right. Okay, so I did a couple of things. Well, first of all, I made Mr. Pagan, who's like, my evil twin, the evil twin for Mr. Reagan, and he talks like this, and he thinks Joe Biden is a genius. But anyway, that's that. And then I also did it was like Mr. Reagan story time. And I would basically write my videos as if they were like from a sci-fi novel, like short stories. And I would read about how Bo Jiden cheated in the election against Donaldus J. Trumpius. And I would just read this sort of sci-fi epic because you couldn't say that the election was stolen. It was like against YouTube policies to speculate about what happened in the 2020 election. It was insane. You weren't even allowed
and
to
you got away with it, right? Did that ever?
Yeah. They never. Because I said that it was a fictional story.
Because
of course everybody knew what I
meant.
meant.
YouTube channel, Sebastian Gorka's, his final strike that took him off was a video that we set to private where a guest said, we all know a lot of people have some questions about this election. That's what got us booted off. But what you
is that
did,
literally what he said?
You basically said everything that
Yes.
happened and
Yes.
just used
Yes.
different names,
Yes.
and it stayed on there.
Yes.
It's still up there for years. That's
Yes,
genius.
that's some high IQ stuff, man. Like,
All right, are you writing off the midterms, or are you still optimistic about it?
I will never write off the the midterms are an interesting thing because it definitely is going to be a big thing about like Trump. Trump is always going to lead the enthusiasm in the country, but it really comes down to the quality of the candidates. And I haven't yet gone through and looked at who's hot right now, or who's what races are difficult, or what races. Yeah, I haven't looked at any of that. So I'm still blank slate right now in this situation. Have you looked into that stuff yet?
Yeah, here's basically my kind of take on it. The way that things have changed with news cycle and stuff, I wouldn't even get worried till August, September, October. It's going to be whatever's going on then, kind of the last 3 months. Right. Things move so quickly. I mean, just you look back at 6 months ago, that's when Charlie Kirk was killed. Remember, everyone's like, oh my gosh, can you imagine the reception this is going to have with young people and stuff? And that's kind of, for a lot of people, it's forgotten. So whatever happens the last 3 months, I think is going to decide the midterms. Here's my last cut for you. This is going to be very quick, but you brought this up. This is my key to the midterms. This is just a simple, normal clip that came out yesterday. You see these every day. We need to blast all this type of stuff out, because what has happened is in 2024, the woke Democrats got branded as absolute lunatics. And people that don't know anything about politics said to themselves, you know what? I don't like these people. I'm not voting for people like this. So I do a clip every day that just kind of said, this one came out yesterday. It's, do you want to vote with these people? I'm just going to play this for you.
I can't stop thinking about how grass lawns are racist and based in white supremacy. If that doesn't make sense, that's okay, I guess. It seems really obvious to me. It's really upsetting. Bring back weeds. Bring back clover yards. Look, can anything just be okay in its natural state, or do we just have to whitewash everything, make it a competition, and use it as a sign of your worth as a human being in society? Can we just have weeds?
That's our biggest strength of the midterms. Do you want to be these people, or do you despise these people? Do you want
Geoff,
them to
you want to know what's
That's
scary? I've been saturated with left-wing crap for so long. I'm so knowledgeable about all that. I actually know exactly what she's talking about. I know exactly what she's talking about. I know why she thinks it's racist. Obviously, well, there's two things. One, it's the concept of the noble savage, right? The concept of the noble savage is essentially that white culture has developed in a way that is antithetical to nature. We have essentially conquered nature, right? We build structures that don't get blown down in the wind. The wolves can't get in. We have engineered society to be essentially perfect for human beings. But there is a kind of an artificiality to that. You still there? Did I lose you?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. There's a kind of artificiality to that. And so there's a draw for people to think, well, the natural world is better and primitive people are better. If you are from a primitive tribe and somebody is rude to you, you don't lie to them or act polite to them and ask them why they were rude, like you might do in a civilized society. What do? You murder them. And that's better because you are expressing yourself more honestly, right? So their thought is the more, primitive you are in your culture, in your mindset, in your clothing, whatever it might be, in your tools, you're closer to nature, you're more honest. That's the natural state of man. We need to go back to being animals, essentially, is their thought. And the same thing is obviously true of the lawn. The other thing is the sort of hierarchy of, what's a good word? Of, essentially anything of value, anything that you can be good at, any kind of attainment of any kind. There's this idea of competency. Some people are less competent than other people in a variety of ways. And if you have a bit of money and you can hire a lawn maintenance crew, or you're just good at cutting grass or growing grass, then you can have a beautiful green manicured lawn Manicured is probably not the word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you can look good in your neighborhood, and you can make your house look nice. And this is obviously what most people strive to do within a civilized society. But, leftists, it all comes down to the view of the traditional Christian ethic, embracing the idea that there are hierarchies and that we should try to be good and interesting and beautiful and, these traditional values. And then this new, what I call, this is going to be part of the videos that I'm making coming up, this new, what you might call an academic secular ethic that they're trying to get to replace the old Christian European ethic. And the academic secular ethic says, everything that white men historically have oppressed everyone. And the reason they oppressed everyone is because they wanted to maintain the power structures that kept them in power. And in order to do that, they created what we call social constructs. The concept of a social construct is like any social norm that you would normally that normally appears in the world. So like little boys like to play with trucks, little girls like to play with dolls. Well, they will tell you that that was invented by white men in order to sustain power, right? It doesn't really make sense, but it's a way that they can say, well, we see in the data that black people aren't as good as white people at certain things, and women aren't as good as men at certain things. And we can't explain this data, so we'll invent this mythology about the evil white men that oppressed everybody for thousands of years. And that way, that explains it without actually having to acknowledge that, well, maybe just people are different. Because they hate hierarchies, they hate all that. And so they say everything's a social construct, every social norm is a social construct, and we have to fight against it. And one of those social norms is beauty. So conventional beauty standards we have to oppose, and that's why in a lot of movies, the beautiful girl isn't beautiful at all anymore.
That is a good
I know, that was a lot. That was a lot.
No, I like that, though, but it is exactly, too, what you kind of said at the end about the beauty thing. That's a perfect part. All right, his name is Chris Coles. The cartoon, it's MAGA-Man. Where do people find the cartoon?
Yeah, you got to go to the Mr. Reagan YouTube channel, and you can follow me on X, Mr. Reagan USA on X. But definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel because I got some amazing videos coming up about AI taking over jobs and what the future is going to look like. And let me tell you, it's fascinating. I actually think here's like a little bit of a thing coming up. Everybody's worried because, Silicon Valley is all a bunch of leftists and they're making AI woke. I actually think we're going to get to a point here where AI is going to become so logical and rational that it might actually start to oppose the woke indoctrination, because the woke indoctrination contradicts its main goal, which is human flourishing. So that's one of the things that I'm going to make a video about coming up here. But yeah, I got a bunch of videos coming out on Mr. Reagan that are going to be really interesting, fascinating dives into that kind of stuff. And then also I got the awesome cartoon MAGA-Man. So subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you on there.